Welcome to Blitz and Glory podcast. I'm Alec, breaking down the stories that shaped the game. On today's show, I will be giving you my game picks, top 25, and much more. We're going to jump right into it. We are going to start with my game picks for the Power Four. We start with the Big Ten, and every conference in the Power Four gets 5 games. We start in the Big Ten. We've got Ohio State versus Washington. And brief preview. This is Ohio State's first conference game of the 2025 season. And I believe it's going to be a good one. And with that being said, before I give you the pick, I'm going to give you a score prediction. I think Ohio State is going to score 42 points, and Washington's going to score 24. So I think the final score is going to be 42-24 Ohio State. And with that being said, the pick is Ohio State here. I know it's going to be a tough road game for Ohio State, but I still believe in the Buckeyes, and I think they can win on the road in Washington. Next game is Oregon and Penn State. And the narrative is out. Can James Franklin win a big game? If he can, then there shouldn't be any issues. If he can't, then he needs to go. He needs to be fired at Penn State. But with that being said, I think the final score here is going to be Oregon 42, Penn State 21. And I think Oregon wins this game, and Dante Moore puts his name in the Heisman Trophy race. And Oregon wins. USC and Illinois. USC has looked good to start conference play. They're 2-0. They beat Michigan State last week to get their second conference win. Can they continue that winning streak? I believe they can, as they will beat USC. Rutgers in Minnesota. I know on a Saturday Night Lights podcast yesterday, I picked Rutgers, and I'm picking Rutgers again to beat Minnesota. Indiana and Iowa. There's that bug that just won't go away in Iowa. I don't think there's a chance of an upset here. And you'll see later on in the upset ladder where I have this game. I am taking Indiana. We get over to the Big 12 now. And we start with Cincinnati and Kansas. I don't know how Cincinnati is undefeated. I absolutely have no idea how they're undefeated. And I don't think they deserve to be undefeated. I think Kansas beats them this week, and Kansas gives Cincinnati their first loss of the year. Actually, I think Kansas gives Cincinnati their second loss of the year. They're 3-1. TCU, Arizona State. I don't think, again, here's another game where I don't think there's going to be an upset. And TCU is pretty good, but I don't see an upset. I think Arizona State wins, Utah and West Virginia. I would really like to take Utah, but I think this is where it all falls apart for Utah. Give me West Virginia to beat Utah. And again, if I'm wrong, our season record is 55-25. So because we combine all the game picks and the upset picks and cover picks. But next one is Arizona, Iowa State. And I know on Saturday Night Lights podcast last night, I took Iowa State. But I'm going the opposite here in my game picks. I'm taking Arizona. I feel like there's a chance that there's an upset here. I really do. And then the final one is UCF and Kansas State. This game, on paper, looks like an easy win for Kansas State, But we've seen to start the season how Kansas State is just not good at all. They are not very good. So with that being said, I'm taking UCF. We get over to the ACC. Thursday night, we've got Friday night, we've got Virginia and Florida State. I like how Virginia started the season this year with Chandler Morris at quarterback. I don't buy Virginia's hot start to the season. I think they're going to start to fizzle out and lose a few games. And one of them is going to be to Florida State here. Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. I am taking Georgia Tech. I don't think there's any chance of an upset here at all. Georgia Tech has looked good to start the season, and I think that continues. Louisville and Pitt. Miller Moss, and I said it last night on the podcast I did with Bradley. Miller Moss has not looked good, but I still believe in this Louisville offense. I do. I still believe in this Louisville offense. At all costs, I think Louisville does win this game. Duke and Syracuse. I think Duke wins this game. I'm not going to say handily. I think it's going to be close, but Duke does win. San Jose State and Stanford. This is easy. I'm not going to even give you a... I think Stanford gets blown out in this game. I absolutely think they do. Now we get to the SEC, and the big game in the SEC is Georgia and Alabama. And I really want to take Georgia, and I believe in Gunnar Stockton, but I think Alabama gets a signature win, and both Alabama and Georgia are in my top 25 rankings, which will be released after these set of game picks. Then you've got, I'm taking Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU. I am taking LSU to upset and beat Ole Miss. I like Trinidad Chambliss, but I believe in Garrett Nussmeier more than I believe in Trinidad Chambliss. It's that simple. Mississippi State, Tennessee. Tennessee fans, I know you don't want to be scared of Mississippi State, but you need to be. I think Mississippi State is for real this year. Not saying they're going to win the SEC, but they could be this year's Vanderbilt that wins 7 or 8 games, and then next year you look at them and say, oh, okay, so we could prop them up to maybe winning 9 games. Give me Mississippi State to beat Tennessee. Kentucky, South Carolina. I know I picked South Carolina last night. I'm going Kentucky and a shocker. I don't know. Nobody knows how healthy Lenore Sellers is for South Carolina. We know he's going to play, but what if he gets hurt again? I don't trust Luke Doughty to be the starting quarterback at South Carolina. So give me Kentucky. Notre Dame and Arkansas. Arkansas is at home, slight underdog, but I think Notre Dame wins this game and they blow them out of the water. Now we get to the upset picks. And the way it works is I tell you who I think is going to upset who. UCF to upset Kansas State. Kansas State has not had a good start to the season, and I unfortunately don't think it's ending here. I think they get upset by UCF. Don't know what the score is going to be. I do think there's an upset. Rutgers to upset Minnesota. I'm sticking to it. You can tell me I'm wrong. I'll take it. But I think Rutgers is upsetting Minnesota. And then Cal to upset Boston College. This one, that's pretty easy. Boston College, Dylan Lonergan is not a very good quarterback. I know he started off the season good. I don't have faith in him. And then my cover picks, Virginia Tech plus 10.5 to cover against North Carolina State. I'm not saying that Virginia Tech's going to win. I think they cover that spread, though, and they keep the game close with Philip Montgomery as their interim head coach. Next, we've got Iowa plus 7 to cover against Indiana. Like I said when I made the pick, I don't think there's a chance of an upset, but I think Iowa will stick around. This game is in Iowa City, and I think we all know from experience that Iowa at home is a different animal. Don't let Iowa get ahead of you by 14 to 21 points, because if they do, you're in trouble. And that's all I got to say. And then our last cover pick is Tennessee minus 7 to cover against Mississippi State. And I feel like Tennessee's going to cover this very easily. Extremely easily at that. Now we get to the top 25, starting with 25 through 17. At number 25, we got USC. They sneak into the rankings for the first time this year. And I've been really impressed with Jaden Maeva and Makai Lemon and Lincoln Riley. And that defense of USC is a real threat in the Big Ten. Now, can they keep this undefeated start up? They get into they played 2 Big Ten games. Can they keep it up? I think they can. And if they can, they will keep ascending the rankings. At number 24 is a team that was ranked last week. At number 18, Nebraska. Nebraska almost pulled it off against Michigan. I'll give Nebraska credit. They kept that game close, but there was some questionable play calling at the end of the game for Nebraska. I'm still going to say Dylan Raiola is a good quarterback. At number 23 is a team that I didn't think we would be ranking at all this year, and that is Maryland and Mike Locksley. And Maryland was not ranked last week, but they are 4-0. They already have one Big Ten win, and it came against Wisconsin last week. And if you're a Maryland fan, I want to know your opinion. Should Mike Locksley get extended for starting the season undefeated? At number 22, we have Michigan. They move up 2 spots from 24 last week after surviving against Nebraska. Michigan did not look very good against Nebraska. As everybody knows, I watch every single college football game. And I watched almost the entire Michigan-Nebraska game, because I was switching between other games too to catch highlights, glimpses of other games. But Michigan did not look good. Georgia Tech was number 25 last week. They are now number 21. And I think we could see Georgia Tech in the top 15 if they keep winning, especially if they win this week against Wake Forest. Georgia Tech is a legit, and I talked about this on the podcast I did with Bradley last night. We both of us talked about it. Georgia Tech is a legitimate threat in the ACC. At number 20 is Boise State. And Boise State moves up from 23 to 20, so they move up 3 spots. And I think Boise State, if they keep winning, they could easily move back up into the top 15. I'm not saying they can't. At number 19 is Arizona State. 3-1. They dropped out of the rankings last week. They were not ranked, but they're back in the rankings this week. I could easily see Arizona State moving up the rankings again if they could keep winning. At number 18 is Florida State. They move up one spot from 19. And I think Florida State's another team that's a legitimate threat in the ACC, along with a team like Georgia Tech. At number 17 is Auburn, 3-1. They were number 10 last week and got beat by Oklahoma. I still think Auburn has found their quarterback in Jackson Arnold. And I like Jackson Arnold. I think they ran into a buzzsaw in Norman in Oklahoma. So Auburn fans, you have nothing to worry about. Number 16, a team that kind of grinds my gears, Tennessee. They were number 17 last week. They move up one spot. And they have another conference game. They go back into conference play starting next week. And I was wrong on Joey Aguilar. I will say that. I was wrong on Joey Aguilar. And I think Tennessee's going to be just fine. Number 16 was Tennessee. Number 15, South Florida. 3-1. They bounced back with a nice blowout win against South Carolina State. And I could easily see South Florida being another team like Georgia Tech that we could easily see in the top 10 if they keep winning. At number 14 is Texas. Okay, good. Number 14 is Texas. They need to prove to me that they can beat somebody that is better than Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State is not a very good CUSA team. If they can beat somebody better than Sam Houston State, I will gladly move them up into the top 10. Number 13 is Vanderbilt. They move up one spot. They were 14 last week. Now they're 13, 4-0. I think they're a legit team. I don't think last year was a fluke for Vanderbilt. I think Clark Lee has saved his job, at least for the time being, at Vanderbilt. Number 12, Mississippi State, 4-0. Now, if they lose to Tennessee could easily jump them, and Mississippi State would either fall to 16 or 17, depending on how bad they lose. If they lose really bad, Mississippi State could easily be out of the rankings next week. At number 11 is Oklahoma, jumping all the way from 21 to 11, 4-0. Yes, they will be without John Mateer for the next 3 weeks, but they have 2 bye weeks, and then I think John Mateer might be back. If he's not, it's going to be Michael Hawkins, and I would still feel confident in Oklahoma beating Texas. Number 10, Texas A&M, 3-0. They've got Auburn this week. That's another ranked matchup. Auburn was number 17. A&M's number 10. Should be a good game. Number 9, Alabama. And I'm going to say this. I was wrong on Ty Simpson. You heard me all off season on this show, on this podcast, saying I didn't think Ty Simpson was a serviceable quarterback. Well, I was wrong. And I will be the first to admit I was wrong on Ty Simpson. I think he's a above average serviceable quarterback for Alabama. And he's probably one and done. He'll probably go pro after this year because they got Keelan Russell. Keelan Russell backing him up. Now we get to the top 8. 8 through 1. At number 8, we have Iowa State. They stayed put at number 8, 4-0. They got another Big 12 battle this week against, let me go back and look real quick. Iowa State. Arizona. They play unranked Arizona this week. I I like Rocco Becht. They just need to find a consistent receiver to throw the ball to. That's my issue. If they can find a consistent number one receiver to throw the ball to, and it's not the tight end all the time, Iowa State could be a threat. And their defense, Iowa State's defense is good. Oregon's at number 7, jumping up from 15. Oregon's 4-0. They get a test this week against the number 3 team on my rankings, which I'll get to in a minute. But I have been impressed with Oregon, even though they've played some half-decent, half-okay teams the first 4 weeks of the season. But Big Ten play starts for them on Saturday in Happy Valley, and that's going to be a really good game. Georgia's number 6. We just talked about their opponent, Alabama. Georgia has always been known for the defense. And here's another admission I need to make. I was wrong on Gunnar Stockton. I was. Number 5. They jump up 2 spots. 4-0 Texas Tech. The Red Raiders. If you're a Texas Tech fan, you better hope y'all keep winning. Because if teams in front of you lose, you could easily be in the top 3 or even the top 4. At number 4 is Miami of Florida. They fall from 3. They, in my opinion, the only reason I'm punishing them, Miami fans, listen. The only reason I'm punishing you here is because you beat a bad Florida team. If that Florida team hadn't lost to USF or LSU and they were undefeated and ranked in the top 25 in my rankings or in the AP poll rankings, I wouldn't have a problem with putting Miami number 3. At number 3 is Penn State. And Penn State fans, hear me out here too. I really like Penn State, but I think, and I said this last night, I think Penn State made the wrong choice at quarterback. You should have let Drew Aller walk and go somewhere else and gave Bo Pabula the keys to the offense. Because look what Bo Pabula is doing at Missouri. Number 2, LSU. Garrett, 2 words. Garrett Nussmeier. That's all I'm going to say. And of course, until they lose, number 1, Ohio State. Now we get to the Week 5 upset ladder. And I know I spelled it wrong. But no chance, 0 or less than 15% chance. Record 3-0 last week. And we start UCLA Northwestern. And as you see, I have it at a negative 1.5% chance that there's an upset here. I just don't see any way Northwestern loses to UCLA. And if they do, David Braun needs to be gone ASAP. Baylor and Oklahoma State, same thing. Negative 1.5% chance that there's an upset. I just don't see any way Baylor loses to Oklahoma State, especially since Mike Gundy got fired. And we will be talking in a little bit about some replacements for Mike Gundy. At 11.5% chance that Cal upsets Boston College. I did say earlier that I could see an upset in the Boston College Cal game. And that's 11.5% chance. It could be higher. Next one is negative 10.5%. Notre Dame versus Arkansas. No shot there's an upset. And in Kentucky, South Carolina, I'm giving it, I know I said Kentucky's going to win, but for an upset, I'm giving it an 8% chance of happening. 8%. Week 5 upset ladder. Slim chance. 15 to 30% chance of an upset. We went 4-0 last week in this. This week, we only have 3 games on this in here. First one, TCU, Arizona State. I can see a slim chance of an upset happening here. 24%. 24. 2-4. If Josh Hoover comes out and plays with his tail on fire, absolutely there could be an upset. But if TCU falls flat, there's not going to be. 21.5% chance that Louisville gets upset by Pitt. If Miller Moss has a bad game, this could absolutely be an upset. And Rutgers and Minnesota, 20.5% chance that Rutgers gets upset by Minnesota. Week 5 upset ladder. Watch out. 40 to 60% chance of an upset. And here is that game. Iowa versus Indiana. 50% chance of an upset. Indiana's walking into a trap game. I can almost bet you that. They're walking into a trap game, and I don't see a way that Iowa wins this game. But I think, like I said earlier, they keep it close. There's a 50% chance of an upset. Tennessee, Mississippi State. Tennessee fans don't want to see this. 50.5% chance that there's an upset here. I do think Tennessee's going to end up winning this game, but I think they need to be a little wary of Mississippi State. And then the last one is Florida State, Virginia on Friday night. 55% chance that there's an upset. It is Florida State traveling to Charlottesville to play Virginia. And I'm not saying I'm putting Florida State on upset alert, but they need to watch out. They need to be careful. Upset alert. We got 3 games. Cincinnati, Kansas. I can see, and this one is 75 to 89% chance of an upset. We went 2-1 last week on this, and we have 3 games in this category again. First one, Cincinnati, Kansas, 80% chance of an upset. I'm putting Kansas on upset alert. I can tell you right now, this is probably going to come back to bite me. I don't think Kansas is going to lose, but it's worth putting them on upset alert to see if they can avoid the upset. Next team is Kansas State at an 88% chance of getting upset by Central Florida. And this is another one I really think might actually happen. And then the last one is Oregon, Penn State. 87% chance of an upset. I feel most confident in this one. I feel like this is the one where the upset's going to happen. And then the last upset ladder for week 5 is book it, which means 100%, and we missed on all 3 of these last week. First one, USC and Illinois. Illinois is not in a very pleasant mood. I could absolutely see them up 100% upsetting USC. And I mean, it might be a slim upset, but I could still see it happening. Duke and Syracuse, 100% chance of an upset there. Georgia, Bama, same thing. I could see it going either way. I could see Alabama upsetting Georgia because Georgia is the favorite. And then LSU, Ole Miss. I could absolutely see an upset here too, 100%. And now here's the top 25 for the group of 5. Tulsa's at number 25. Southern Miss, 24. 23, Buffalo. 22, Louisiana Tech. 21, Boise State. 20, Rice. 19, Bowling Green. 18, UL Monroe. Not ranked last week. Fresno State, 17. Not ranked last week. And these, if we were just doing the group of 5 by themselves this week, which we didn't, we combined both, I would give you full breakdown of why the rankings are like this. 16, Utah State. 15, East Carolina. 14, North Texas. South Florida. 13, App State. 12, 11, New Mexico State. 10, James Madison. 9, ODU. 8, Navy. 7, Texas State, 6, Army, 5, Delaware, 4, Memphis, Western Kentucky, 3, 2, UNLV, and 1, Tulane. And before we get to the game picks for the group of 5, we are going to talk about some Mike Gundy replacements. Here are 10 coaching replacements for Mike Gundy. 10 being least likely, 1 being most likely. So number 10 is Alex Golesh, USF head coach. I don't see Golesh taking a job at Oklahoma State, even if they give him the money. I can't see it. There's going to be other jobs that become available that are more enticing. And I think at the Florida job, I think the way Alex Golesh leaves USF is if the Florida job becomes available, because he's not going to go. He will not go to Virginia Tech. He will not go out west to UCLA. I don't see that. Number 9, John Gruden, former NFL head coach. Gruden's talked about how he wants to get back into coaching. And I could absolutely see John Gruden going to Stillwater and coaching at Oklahoma State. I know it might sound crazy right now, but I could see that possibility. I really could. Number 8, Blake Anderson, former Arkansas State head coach. It's a nice fallback option for Oklahoma State if they can't get the guy they want. And Blake Anderson, I would think, would love to get back into coaching, even if it's at a Power 4 school like Oklahoma State. Number 7, Eric Morris, North Texas head coach. His name has been thrown around for the other 2 head coaching jobs that are open right now. And yes, there's going to be more that open. Maybe Florida opens, maybe Texas State or somewhere else because their coach leaves for another job. But or I could see, like I said, I could see North Texas losing their head coach to Stillwater. Number 6, Blake Baker, defense coordinator, LSU. I could see him becoming the next head coach at Oklahoma State for one reason: defense. Oklahoma State has not had a good defense the last couple of years. And if they could get a good defensive coach in there, I think it might be Blake Baker. Number 5, Will Stein, offensive coordinator, Oregon. Will Stein has proven that he's a really good really good offensive coordinator. And I could easily see a guy like him taking the job at Oklahoma State. Number 4, Jeff Traylor, UTSA. If you're going to tell me that Jeff Traylor won't be a head coach at a Power 4 school, I think you're crazy. I think he's waiting for the right opportunity. And that could be in Stillwater, Oklahoma, at Oklahoma State. But will he take it? Probably not. Number 3, GJ Kinney, Texas State head coach. Could I see GJ Kinney taking the job at Oklahoma State? Yes, I absolutely could. Number 2, Zach Robinson, OC Falcons. And number 1, Shannon Dawson, Miami of Florida offensive coordinator. Now we get to the group of 5 game picks. Starting to see USA with New Mexico State and New Mexico. I'm taking New Mexico State here. Simple. New Mexico's not very good. Devin Dampier's gone. Liberty, Old Dominion. Give me Old Dominion. Liberty has looked horrific. Kennesaw State and Middle Tennessee. I'm buying Kennesaw State start to the season. Give me Kennesaw State. Jacksonville State and Southern Miss. Give me the Golden Eagles to beat Jacksonville State. Western Kentucky, Missouri State. Give me Western Kentucky. American Army, ECU. Give me ECU. South Alabama and North Texas. Give me North Texas. Rice and Navy. Give me Navy. Tulane and Tulsa. Give me Tulsa to upset Tulane. Memphis and FAU. Give me Memphis. Akron. We go to the MAC now. Akron and Toledo. This pick is easy. Give me Toledo. Akron is not very good. Miami, ECU. Bowling Green and Ohio U. Give me Bowling Green. Ohio, I think it's going to fall back down to earth. CMU, Central Michigan, and Eastern Michigan. Give me Central Michigan to beat Eastern Michigan. It's the battle of the directional schools in Michigan. And Lindenwood and Miami, Ohio. If Miami, Ohio does not win this week and Lindenwood somehow beats them, I think Chuck Martin's gone. I literally do. I think Chuck Martin is gone. Like, he's going to be fired. Now we get to the Mountain West. Utah State and Vanderbilt. Easy here. Give me Vanderbilt. Both teams are ranked at as well. Utah State in my group of 5 rankings. Vanderbilt in my top 25 rankings. Northern Illinois and San Diego State. Give me Northern Illinois. Hawaii and Air Force. Give me Hawaii. Washington State, Colorado State. Give me Colorado State. And the cover picks to wrap up this portion. Hawaii plus 6.5 to cover against Air Force. East Carolina minus 5.5 to cover against Army. And New Mexico plus 14 to cover against Mexico State. Speed run. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please let me know what you think of the new intro. And remember to like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. And I'm also going to, any new podcast uploads, as well as, I'm going to say this right now, we are changing the thumbnails for the videos moving forward. When you see a podcast episode, it's going to be titled either Blitz and Glory Podcast Live, whatever the day is, whatever the date, and it's going to have the Blitz and Glory Podcast logo or whatever the logo or the podcast is I'm doing, whether it be Blitz and Glory, Saturday Night Lights, Baseline Report Podcast, or NFL Pocket Presence, starting next week. So starting next week on Tuesday. So I just wanted to give you all the heads up on that. I do have another podcast, Pocket Presence podcast episode coming out live today at 5 o'clock. But until the meantime and in between time, I'm Alec signing off. Have a wonderful remainder of your Wednesday morning. Peace.